Focaccia bread. We're going to make a batch of our, I'm going to say famous focaccia bread, only because it was so popular on our food trucks and in the dining room. Very easy recipe to make. You're going to need a stand mixer for this, a little bit easier for knead in. But in my bowl here, I have my yeast and my sugar, and I am just going to add my warm water. And what this is going to do, we'll give it a quick stir here. The warm water is going to activate the yeast. The sugar is going to feed it. It's going to start to grow. And then once we start seeing, we'll see a little bit of foaming on top of the bowl, then we're ready to continue with the rest of the recipe. Now, this isn't like maybe your more traditional focaccia breads that are a little bit thinner, a little bit chewier. It was actually a mistake when I made this. We were making a more traditional one. I messed up on the amount of yeast I used. And lo and behold, I mean, it was very popular, so popular that we kept going with it. So it comes out a little bit thicker than a normal focaccia, a little bit softer, but it soaks up. If you're doing like a balsamic dip like we have on the website, it just soaks up that dip so nice. I just like it dipped in a bolognese sauce. One of our most popular items was a grilled cheese we used to make. We would slice the focaccia, fig jam, little taleggio cheese, some Italian deli meats, arugula, grill that up, little honey gastrique over top. So it's got a lot of applications once you get the recipe down. So I'm gonna look over into the bowl here, and you can see now that yeast is activated. It's starting to bloom, so we're ready to start adding the rest of the ingredients. So I am going to add a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil in here. Then I'm going to add my spices. I have sea salt, dried oregano, whole fennel seed, and some chili flakes just to give it a little bit of kick. But you can have some fun with this in the summer, and when the fresh herbs are available, you can throw those in. Sometimes I throw in sun-dried tomatoes. Sometimes I throw in dried olives. So again, lots of opportunity to play around with this recipe. We're going to get those in there. And then I'm going to add maybe about 3/4 of my flour. Now, I don't add all the flour because every time you make this, you might use a little bit more, a little bit less. A lot of it depends on the humidity levels and that sort of thing. So we just want to start off safe with about 3/4. We'll get our dough hook attachment on here. There we go. We'll close her up. And then we'll just start her off nice and easy. I've got it on, let's go up to number 4 here just to start with. And we'll start watching to see how the flour gets incorporated, if we need to add a little bit more. The idea is when there's enough flour added, it starts pulling away from the sides of the bowl. So that's at a 4. We're going to pop it up to a 5 here. Just slowly increasing the speed. If you go too fast, the flour is going to blow out of the mixer here. That's 5. I'm going to go to 6 now. That's just probably as high as I'm going to go with the speed. Now I'm already looking at this right now, and I can see that there's a little bit of flour. The batter's still sticking on the outside. It's going to need a little bit more flour, so I'm going to knock that off. And I'm going to add a little bit more. And this is something, the more you make it, the more you're going to get used to how much you want to add. Again, I'm just slowly increasing the speed here so I don't get flour everywhere. And I know I did a product review a few weeks ago on the stand mixer here, and so far so good. I'm really enjoying using it. It's holding up really well. Haven't dropped it, knocked it off a counter or anything yet, so it's been a very worthwhile investment. So again, a little bit more flour we can add in here. Just going to turn it down low. So I'm probably going to end up adding about 80% of the flour that I had weighed out. And now it's starting to come together nicely here. I've got it on the 5. as it comes together. Now I want to knead this in the bowl here, probably for about 5 or 6 minutes. I really want to develop that gluten in there. I'm going to add just a touch more flour. And now it's starting to pull away. It's exactly what we're looking for. So there's probably about 200 grams of flour left from that. So we're just going to let this go for a little bit, then we'll come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so we're back. Our focaccia dough, it's been about 5 minutes in the mixer. You can see how it's come away from the sides completely. Beautiful consistency. So now what I want to do is I'm just going to turn the heat off, or turn the dial down. I'm going to take my dough out. So I'm going to get it onto the cutting board because I do like to give it a little bit of hand kneading myself. And you can see that came out pretty clean. So that's kind of what we're looking for. So now I am going to give this a little bit of a knead. Okay, so to knead this by hand, I'm just going to put a little bit of flour down on my counter. Put my dough on there. And I'm just going to pull the dough towards me and then push it away. Turn, push, turn. There we go. And I like to do this myself as opposed to doing it all in the mixer because it really gives me a nice feel for the consistency of the dough. And this is coming out just beautifully. So once I've given this a few turns, you can see like how nice and smooth it is on here. I had to give it a little tap. Then I'm going to take, I have a bowl here with a little bit of olive oil inside. I am just going to pop that in. I put the nice smooth side down, rubbed it around in the oil. Then I'm going to flip it over just like so. And then I'm going to cover this. And I'm going to let it rise till it's doubled in volume. Now, because there's a lot extra yeast in this than there's in usual doughs, it doesn't take long. So depending on the temperature of your kitchen, it could be 30 minutes to an hour. So when this one's ready, we'll come back and we'll do the next step. Okay, so we're back. Our focaccia has doubled in size, as you can see. So now we're just going to remove the saran wrap from the top. I have a baking sheet here that I just have lined with a little bit of parchment paper. And what I want to do now is I'm just going to take my dough here, just going to remove it, place it on like so. And now I just want to start pressing this out, get into all those corners, trying to keep it so that it's nice and even thickness, like so. And then once I get it out to the corners, I'm going to press it down around the outside. And now you get to get some of your aggression out on it. We're just going to dimple it all over, just like so. I'm going to take some of my olive oil on the top. Grab a little bit of coarse salt. And we're just going to sprinkle that evenly over the top. Like that. Then I will let this rise for about another half hour or so, get it a little bit thicker. In the meantime, my oven's preheating at 375, and we'll come back when it's ready to go into the oven. Okay, so our focaccia bread now has been rising for about 30 minutes. You can kind of see all those dimples we made at the very beginning are starting to disappear. That's because the dough's rising. So we want to get it in the oven now. Look at how beautiful it is. The dimples that are left, those little pools of olive oil in there, it's going to taste so good when it's done. 375-degree oven, 30 minutes around there. Depends on how your oven works. A quick trick, if you're a little bit not as quite as confident with baking the bread, put this in for about 10 minutes, let it firm up in the oven, then grab yourself a probe thermometer, insert the probe into the center part of the bread, set it for 205 degrees, and when that goes off, your bread's ready. Nice and easy. So this is going to go in the oven. We'll come back when it's ready to go. Yeah, focaccia's out of the oven now. You can see it's a beautiful golden brown on the top. So I'm just going to let it cool down for about 10 minutes or so in the pan here. Once that is cooled a little bit, I will transfer it to a rack. I will just take it off the parchment, slide it on here, and that just helps it cool a little bit better. Sometimes I find if you leave it on the baking sheet, it can get a little soggy on the bottom. So this is where a rack comes in handy. And then once it's cool, this freezes remarkably well, so you can portion it. Make sure you saran it really well, throw it in your freezer, and you've got focaccia to use for sandwiches, with your pastas, to dip in balsamic. So give it a try, add whatever you want to it. Hit up our Facebook page and let me know how it's worked for you.